All right. Welcome to episode 206 of Live Drawing. My name is Ian Chase Nichols. I'm a creative professional, comic book artist, creator. Been doing it for 20 some odd years. And yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about the development and potentiality of this new project, Dimebox Comics. And it's not entirely a new project. As you can see, I have a book right here called Dimebox Comics. And um, this was done many years ago. This was done all the way back in 2012, as you can see from the copyright, 2012. This was a book that we just, as friends, got together and did for fun. I did the cover, I did all the packaging, I did the lettering, I did the frontispiece, and all the lettering, and except for on Nate's pages. I did a story about a character called Sub Saunders, which was a obscure Golden Age character from Fiction House that he didn't have any superpowers. He just had a submarine, and we did these in grayscale. So I used like Copic or Prismacolor markers. I don't remember which. And this is years old. I feel like I've gotten a lot better. My anatomy's certainly gotten better. The way I draw hands has gotten better. But you can still see the base storytelling sense and the way you flow an eye through a page for the most part. It was a very simple story. It made me laugh that, rather than sending astronauts to space, they strapped a submarine to a rocket ship and sent it into space, which I found endlessly funny. We had another artist do a Daredevil story. I believe I wrote it. Yeah, and I did the tones, and then Nate Lovett did these Black X features. Jay Kennedy and I collaborated on Space Smith. And then the owner of our LCS in JP did a Phantoma story, which was a character from another one from Fiction House created by Fletcher Hanks. And then we did like little bios of all the creators and stuff in the back to acknowledge like who did what. And yeah. We printed them with a company that doesn't exist anymore, Comics Express. This was one of those earlier print-on-demand companies. And, it was an honest effort, but it's obviously old work. And I look at it and I see everything that I would fix. There's actually a copy on eBay right now for sale that's signed. In the new issue, what I'm going to be working on is a character called Kenton of the Space Patrol, which I've discovered reading the art of Joe Kubert, which if you haven't read this book, it's exceptional. It goes through his entire career, and this is the character right here, Kenton of the Star Patrol. That's why my title is Ian Chase Nichols of the Star Patrol on tonight's stream. And this was penciled by Joe Kubert and inked by Carmine Infantino. It was an interesting collaboration that lasted precisely just this one story. And then a young Wally Wood took over. As you can see, it's your classic Golden Age science fiction stuff, and it's got that beautiful, dense, illustrative style of early Kubert. Still has the beautiful, beautiful brushwork. You can see in the hair, you can see in all the patterns, and over the course of just these, 8 pages, he changes uniforms, things change. So I felt like there was some leeway to play with the design of the character. I thought that the dark blue shirt and like the football pants and the boots were necessary with this belt. It's like big power belt with his gun on it. But in the first panel, you see him slouched down, and he's got like these some sort of straps over his shoulders. So I wanted to actually use that. It looks like it's part of his spacesuit. There's a stripe down the side of his pants in the first one. And yeah, just an awesome splash page. More, if you have not read Golden Age Joe Kubert, I would implore you to pick up this book and check it out. but yeah, I started to develop a while ago something to do with that character because I don't think anybody's done anything with it. Um, and I thought that this would be a good way to dust off an old idea. And as far as like I mentioned in the description of the video, um, there's there's no money in working on Dimebox. We made no money from doing it. It's just for making a comic, and I think that um, the impetus is to make something good and put it out there, and everyone would have permission to print their own copies if they wanted to and sell them and do all that stuff. But it would be treated kind of like a creator-owned situation where we give each other permission to republish one another's contributions. But what we're going to be working on tonight, and the reason I brought this out, other than just to promote Undersea Hero, is to show you that this centerpiece here that I did is an early piece of concept art that I did when I was developing Undersea Hero. And what its purpose was to see how do the characters look when they're all in one shot together. Because I had done individual drawings, but I had not done a group shot of everyone just to see how does it look, like how do they look together. And that's kind of tonight what we're going to do, because as I showed last week, I've done a bunch of one-off like little sketches of like different character ideas for this. I have a plot. It's not ready yet. I did do this one, but I really wasn't happy with it. So but yeah, these are all different characters that appear in the story with Kenton. And this shot gives you more or less the design that I think I'm going to go with. It's got the power belt, the hair, the long face. I think that and he's not too big, like he's just lean. So I think that gives us kind of the look and feel of what this character is going to be. I've plotted a 9-page story. It plays with form. It plays with different ideas of archetypal elements of characters in the superhero genre, specifically on the antagonist side, which I think is more interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, Gardner Fox and Joe Kubert created the character. So, yeah, we're gonna get a piece of paper. We're gonna start just going into it, and we'll try to have some fun. I wanted to start on a page tonight, but I just wasn't ready with the plot. So, just using a regular HB pencil, and I like to hold it loose when I'm getting my layout in. I'm gonna. We'll see how it comes together. And I'm thinking, we put some of the characters over here, and we just want to see how they look together. If we can fit more than one. Let's pull this back a little bit, and we'll bring that in. We're just creating kind of a montage. Hey, Dennis, good to see you. Hey, Martha's, I'm doing all right. I did kind of a whole spiel to set up what we were doing tonight, so I'm sorry if you missed it. But yeah, working on a concept piece again for. Yeah, I showed off the original pages from the book that inspired it. Like, here's the book we did back in like 2014, so a long time ago. 2012, excuse me. Yeah, this is an oldie, so 14 years ago. And then this is the original Kubert story, Kubert and Gardner Fox and Carmine Infantino. Yeah, Kenton of the Space Patrol. This is the character that I'm going to use. This is him right here. I don't know. I read this story. I really liked it, and I just think if you dig early Joe Kubert stuff, like this is just you see the beautiful brushwork and everything, and I think that it's just fun outer space stuff. And I've been designing characters, and we'll see if we can pull it off. And like I said, anyone who's on the channel that wants to create something for it, they're welcome to. It's just meant to be a fun thing. That was the whole point of the one from 2014. And if anybody wants to, like Dennis, if you want to do a pinup or something or do a story, you're welcome to do something. Martha's doing one, trying to get my buddy Jay in. There's no money in the gig. I'm sorry. It's just for the love of the game and for putting something out there. And we only ever did one issue. It was kind of on the precipice of me starting to get hired for other work. We had planned on doing one right after it, but in 2012, that book is out, and then 2013, I think, was when I did my first Turtles cover. I was starting to do tick stuff, so there just wasn't time. And now I'm just making decisions that are not exclusively based on financial realities or requirements. That's the right word. And I just wanted to do it. So, and look, it might be one of those where I end up just doing it entirely by myself. Oh, absolutely. No, I think that part of the deal is that everyone just gives everyone permission to print copies of the book if they want to. If you want to print copies, you're giving everyone a license to print copies. They can't alter your work or anything, but you're just giving everyone the. That's how I envision it. That way it's fair for everyone. Everyone's in the same amount, People can sell digital copies, put it on their website, whatever they want to do. If they just want to put it on a pirated comic book website, go nuts. And it's actually funny. I did see the first issue of Dime Box and some of my early self-published stuff on one of those sites. Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different world from when the first issue was made as far as publishing goes. If somebody wanted to set it up as print on demand, they're welcome to do that. No, Mixam does print on demand still. What's the one down in Florida? Kablam, they still do print on demand. Amazon, hell, Amazon does print on demand. Quite frankly, it's just, I mean, everything's shy of uh, releasing it to the public domain. It's just, it's about making something cool. I understand my situation's not the same as other people, so. Oh, that's cool. Congratulations, man. Yeah, I've known a lot of people that worked in the video game industry over the years. So I'm telling you, we're all going to be standing in line for Dennis at a convention. It'll be like six. It would be like me and like six of my old comic buddies, and we're just like, "So you want to go halvesies on a photo op with Dennis?" One of the things I'm thinking about at this point is the color scheme that I want to use for this story. I actually do think I'm going to do it in color. So it's going to be a lot of green, a lot of heavy green. Oh, hey, look at that. VIP. Wow. The good thing about the piece tonight is like if we don't like it, we don't have to use it. But it's really just to hopefully get a view of what um, some of these designs look like on the same page. I think that's important, especially when you're like you're developing an entire set of designs. Because you can have one or two great designs, but if you're looking to have an ensemble or you're building a world and they don't look cool together, then you can be drawing yourself into a corner. And I may pivot. Like I said, I'm envisioning like a lot of greens, a lot of different color approaches than I usually do. And I'm going with the hand done aesthetic. So like I'm not going to one of the things, if you noticed when I flip through, there's a lot. I used a lot of digital tools, and you can see it in the typography. You can see it in the shapes, even, and then like even on the panel borders. Like these were done. The ones that I did were done digitally. Yeah, these were all done digitally, and this font, like it's a perfectly okay comic book font, but it's not. It doesn't have the feeling that I want to have. Like I'm purposefully rejecting that overly clean computer look on my stuff. And that includes with the lettering and the production elements. There's going to be hand drawn, handwritten stuff all over mine. Like I said, this guy isn't too big, so we just want him to be kind of fit, but not, you know, uh, not superhero. He's like a space cop, so like he's in shape, but he's not in crazy shape. Flat color, yeah, that's a perfectly cromulent approach. I also don't want to stretch this guy out too much because he's not. I think he's probably about like 6'2". He's not, going to be towering over people. As you can see, I'm building the figure, and you can see how I differentiate when I use a different colored lead. I'm looking and going off of what I used, but adding more. Exactly. Yeah. Like he runs on the treadmill. He'll hit the elliptical, does some um, does like the machine lifting, but not the power free weights. Maybe. Make sure we get the hip bone. Yeah, pull that arm in. Hey, likewise, Dennis. Congrats again on your gig. Oh, sketch covers. Nice. Nice. Get to work then. I think you said you were doing a Mega Man. Oh, nice. I look forward to seeing your version of Invincible. I think that could be cool. I never watched Rick and Morty. I played the old Mega Man games back, the Nintendo one, so I don't know if he looks like that anymore or if they changed how he looks. My pleasure, dude. I'll see you around. Select's coming forward. From this angle, you'll see like a little bit of where it stretches behind with his glutes. He's basically wearing a t-shirt, which makes this kind of an easy pull for our job, and it gives us a nice indicator of movement with the sleeves. I generally tell people to not have the sleeves be like snug because you can use them to show breaks in the anatomy and movement better if you have just the sleeve itself break away from the arm a little bit. See where that stair step is? Like here's where the tricep meets the shirt, and there's like a little bit of a gap right there. And then on the front hand side, where the bicep is, and that comes forward again, but smaller. There's a smaller one because his arm's like moving. I want to keep the shoulder straps because I think that's again another way to break up the design, which I want to keep. Those go under the armpit like that. And then I have it coming across the chest like this. I, for once, am caught up on a comic book show. I watched the first two episodes of Lanterns. I saw that. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was very well made. If you look back at some like old school Bern Hogarth artwork and the way Frank Frazetta used to draw arms, he had a very specific way he drew the muscles coming over the ulna and the radius on the forearm, and he created some interesting textures by doing it that way. I actually think I'm going to open up this hand. Move this over a little bit because his center of gravity was a little off. That's okay. Not going to see it anyway because once he gets his power belt thing on there. And we'll pick a light source. Let's go up here, coming down this way. And it's a dark shirt, so there's going to be a lot of ink on it. And I did give him a collar on this. I may lose the collar. I don't think it needs the collar. It does make it more retro, but I don't know. I don't love the collar. One artist who does leaning characters and characters with a front to back motion like this extraordinarily well is Craig Russo. So if you ever pop over to his page, take note of how he leans his characters, the arcs that he will give his characters, and the weight that he will. He's incredible at that. I'll invite the other folks back who worked on the original one. I don't. Again, when you're making a comic book and you tell people up front there's not a page rate, it's usually like, I've got 10 million other things I can do, and that's entirely true and valid. Which is why I'm fully prepared to go at this and be the only contributor. Which means it'll just sit until I can get like 2 or 3 shorts done, and then it'll be just me. One element that I added to the character, I don't know if I showed this off. The face came out pretty well. I wanted them to have little communicator rings. I thought that would be cool. Kind of like the Dick Tracy watch, but a ring. I enjoyed Cavalier and Clay quite a bit. I think it's a terrific book. I like Michael Chabon's writing. I do. Telegraph Avenue. Yeah, the Yiddish Policeman's Union. I've read a fair number of his books, and I've enjoyed. I think I've enjoyed every single one. Oh, it's not a flake out thing. It's just a fully understanding that the economics of the world and capitalism in this country and all that stuff. So I would never hold it against someone for having to go and earn money to, feed themselves, their family, etc., instead of just drawing a stupid comic. Because comics are extraordinarily labor intensive, especially if you want to do them well. Hey Ben, good to see you, man. I still got to drop your sketch cover in the mail. Ben was the winner of the Phantom sketch cover. It's sitting over on my desk right there next to a thing to mail it in. So we're like halfway there. But yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for popping in. I'll make sure that that goes out. We only have was it six or eight Undersea Hero packages left to go out. Hopefully to have that down to 5 this weekend. Get 3 more out. I wanted to kind of give him a Kubert structure to his face, so that's why the cheekbones are a little bit more pronounced than I normally do, and I elongated the face a little bit more than I normally do. His stuff has been around long enough now that you could find it, I'm sure, at like thrift stores and stuff. So if you ever see one in like a $3 paperback bin or whatever, give it a try. You may like it. Maps and Legends, that was another one. That was like a novella. I wouldn't always trust that because I've definitely had various types of jargon come back as made up when I've checked it, when it's definitely not. It may not be in the Oxford Dictionary, but there are plenty of names of things. He was probably trying to get it into like school reading lists. He makes it a little easier on the teacher. He can more likely get it into some school reading list and bump up those sales numbers, adding the discussion questions. It's coming together. Starting to see the figure. You can see the John Buscema How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way influence on this drawing more than some of the others that you can usually see of mine. I forgot what his little laser blaster looked like. Hey, how's it going, Clarissa? Good to see you. Working on our little Space Patrol man. Star Patrol, sorry. Space Patrol is a different thing, and I'm sure copywritten and trademarked and all those things. Joe Kubert, the artist that co-created this character, is an artist who's probably best known for his work on Hawkman. Not necessarily a heralded character this day and age, but they did use Hawk Girl or Hawk Woman in the most recent Superman movie. So the vestiges of his work still in use by the billion-dollar corporations to this day. Yeah, they could have used a lot of stuff. Where did I put that sketch? There's a little guy sketch. There's some of the little. There we go. There's the one with the little laser gun. This little laser pistol. It's definitely like your classic 1940s laser pistol. Yeah, I read that Joe Kubert book a couple of years ago, and I put it in the back of my brain. I was like, this is a character that could be fun. And that was kind of the impetus to come up with an idea. And the structure for the story that I've written is, while in a 9-page format, you would think you would go 3-3-3. I actually went 2-2-2-2-1, and it has to do with him capturing the bad characters and repeatedly asking them, why do you do it? Why do you do it? Why do you do it? And there's this syncope and cadence to the story that I wanted to have a beat to it, and then it hits you at the end. I won't give away the ending, but it's a good ending, and I wrote around that ending when I first came up with it and developed ways to incorporate all those design sketches for all those characters that we had come up with. I thought, like this alien species, I thought would be a good one. The Dust Man. We had our space pirate lady. And he's like tracking down these antagonists, and there's a grid page and a montage page with each pairing, and it's a visual conversation about the different formats in which comic book pages can be laid out and were laid out at that time, and the experimentation that was done at that time. Like, at the time, nobody had seen a double page spread until Jack Kirby and Joe Simon published them. When you see an image that goes across both pages, that's what that means. So let's pull out one of those characters so we can start seeing how they look together. Of course, I put it away, so I'm a dummy. Yeah, like the Dust Man. I think he's cool. Let's grab our regular number 2 pencil. Where did it go? It's over here. HB pencil. What if I had discussion questions at the end of Undersea Hero? I think people would have written angry letters if a comic book that stupid had discussion questions. Although I have found that I've needed to explain elements of it, which is strange to me because it's a very straightforward comedy book. So we laugh, we joke, we cry, but I had someone ask me about the whale, and for anyone, like the whale at the end, I won't give it away because someone who's here just got a copy of the book, and I don't want to spoil it. But I can mention the whale because the whale shows up on like page 2. Page 1? Page 1 or page 2? Page 1. The whale is the opening. So like I telegraph it. If you like the whale, then you'll be happy. So Although in the next issue, I do have a person who works in a science lab and a dive master giving me some neat ocean facts about, sciency ocean stuff to put in the next issue, which will be fun. At least I think it'll be fun. So you'll find as you get through the book, there's little neat ocean facts peppered throughout, and that was from my time of working at an aquarium, and we're going to have some people who are more current and sciency than I am, adding to that stuff. So, we got our other alien species. We'll see what they look like. I do enjoy this format of like having a concept piece where you just see the characters together. I think that it's important. I think that I can easily design characters, but like we want to make sure that they look cool together. This is a very much a throwback to more like of a Dave Cockrum design. If you look at, oh, we got our AI viewers Twitch Max plug. Cool. That's how we know we're growing as a channel when they start spamming you more. Dave Cockrum is the artist who designed Storm and Nightcrawler and Colossus, all the new X-Men that showed up in Giant Size #1. Let's add our patented border before we get too far and don't create any tangents. I think we're the only ones that read it. They had talked about making it into a TV series at one point, but I don't think that ever got got off the ground. I haven't read it since it first came out. That was when I read it, which was many years ago now. They did do a series of comic books called The Escapists. If you dug, the comics that they talk about in the book, they actually Dark Horse and Michael Chabon and a bunch of artists made those into comics. And actually, one of the people that worked on it was Will Eisner. He did a story where the spirit crossed over with the Escapists. There's our space pirate lady. Not very organized, I'm sorry. Not right now, I'm not. I spend a chunk of my weekend packing Undersea Hero stuff to go out because I'm trying to finish that off. This is like the Empress of the Galaxy. I thought she was pretty cool, but I don't think she fits in with the story. This was Slasha, where she's got like this electric whip thing and she robs banks. I thought that'd be cool. There's Zero. There's our space pirate lady. So I think we'll put Slasha over here. Because I have to have 4 villains for my structure, or 4 antagonists. So The good thing about doing a space comic is you can always add some planets and some good space stuff and figure out where to put things that can give you some good environment, some atmosphere. Yeah, for this one, I do want it to be, just like a standard mainstream as far as ratings go. But I'm not gonna censor anyone. Like you know, I just didn't want it to be explicit. Like it's got to be something that can be sold on a regular shelf in a regular store. And actually, printers and stuff have gotten more strict. Even Mixam, the printer that I use, if you have any adult content in your book, they are going to charge you more to print it. Which I, it's I get real angry about that stuff. I get real angry about censorship, and there's passive and there's direct, and that is passive censorship. And I get so angry about that stuff. I think we're going to work on Slash at first. Her design's kind of a 1960s French jumpsuit with kind of a Kubrick slant, I'll call it. Pull this over a little bit. Get her shoulders in there. Although I will say her haircut is far more mid-century. And that's why we got to see them looking together. Like I'm using all these different influences to try to develop a cool feeling and look to it that fits with the retro aesthetic, but also challenges viewers with something new. So that's kind of. Hello, how are you, John? And I'm not trying to be too showy with the layout or with any of the poses. It's really just to showcase design. It's does the ensemble work? I also just don't want to over render. That's another thing I've been trying to avoid because especially if we're going to be coloring this, I want the color to feature. So. I got to redo his little laser pistol, but the forearm is pretty good. Forward arm. He's got like some arm hair because he's just a regular guy. So yeah, I've got some arm hair. Uh, a piece like this, like kind of like the one in Undersea Hero, like this one, is if you just keep drawing and you avoid tangents and you do an asymmetrical layout, you can get away with a lot of mistakes, especially if you're not putting it on any sort of standardized ground plane. And that's why these are really just stream of consciousness drawings. They're not an execution necessarily of fine craft, but they can look fun. And like I said, they can give us an impression. The hardest part of the plot for the story to come up with so far was what each of the antagonists are looking to do, like the crimes they're committing, and then also the resolution, which all has to be factored in on one page. I had the idea of like this top of her face is like in a black hole, kind of a look to it. Did I give her earrings? Yeah, I gave her like space ring earrings. That's definitely, I didn't mean to, but that's definitely influenced by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. If anyone's ever read, and Patrick, I have not forgotten about your drawing. I plan on doing it on Saturday, so I will do that, and I will get it to you. Just roughing out a hand. And again, like I'll use a piece like this to practice different elements that I need to work on. And I've been drawing this stuff for 20 some odd years, and there is a point where I have to tell myself like that not every drawing has to be the hardest thing I've ever drawn. And that's something that I definitely fought against in my in my youth. Like if it's not super hard for me, uh, how would it be challenging for anyone else to look at? That was the standard I had for myself. Whereas if it wasn't a challenging image to me or for me for execution and looking at, I didn't think it had any visual value, and that made drawing comics very hard. So I was always trying to come up with a way to make something. Every page, every drawing had to have some sort of value that other drawings I'd seen didn't have before, or some aspect, and I was always trying to come up with something. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, Saturday I got the house to myself, so I'm gonna sit down over probably on the porch. Probably gonna draw it outside if the weather's good. That's what I would like to do. I think that'd be a nice way to spend a Saturday. Drawing a picture for Pat on my porch. I don't like where this hand is, and it's too close to that for a tangent. So you might have to bend the elbow. Yeah, it's going to use the space better, but we're going to have to tilt it and foreshorten it a bit. We'll put it in front of him. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll just put her completely in front of him. Did I see the Odyssey? I did, Patrick, and I was highly entertained by it, having read it back in the day and seen many different iterations of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did you think? Did you like it? I did not see Spider-Man. I picked one summer blockbuster and I saw The Odyssey. I know everyone said Spider-Man's great, Spider-Man's great, blah 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 blah. I'm sure it is, you know. And I always disappoint people when I tell people I'm not the biggest Spider-Man guy. I never have been. Now see the X-Men. I'm gonna go see the X-Men because I'm an X-Men guy, like I always have been as far as my reading past goes. So I have a nostalgia and affinity for those characters and stories that I don't have. Oh, it's very modernized. I would, if you're an Arthurian legends person, as I am, I would equate it to when John Steinbeck wrote his version of the Arthurian legends when he did of his King Arthur and his noble knights of the Round Table, where it's very, very modern and it's very much Chris Nolan's Odyssey. It's not a uh, adaptation. I would say that would be my assessment. But I found it entertaining. You know, I went to be entertained and I was entertained. So would I recommend it to someone who's looking for an academic adaptation of it? No, I would not. But if you like Nolan's movies and you're up for a modernized look at the hero's journey, I think you could do far worse. And she's got like the swirly pattern that was super popular at one time in comics. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this pattern in comics. Trying to think, you know, George Perez would use this texture a lot. If you ever read the X-Men annual that George Perez drew, Storm had a suit that had this on it. There's a character that's not the Starfire from Teen Titans that Mike Vosberg drew a miniseries of at DC called Starfire. It was a fantasy book in the 70s. Yeah, we give this lady like bigger arms. She's almost the well, she's definitely the more superhero shaped character between Kenton and such. I agree, Patrick. I think that's probably the gold standard. It was those are wonderful films. That's an excellent point. I don't know if the goals were the same for this film as those films, but it's not a bad analogy or a bad example to bring up. The you missed the Lord of the Rings movies. The Lord of the Rings movies are quite long. Yes, as was the Odyssey. You know, it's a Nolan movie, so you're in for no less than 2.5 hours with his feature films like Oppenheimer or the Dark Knight films. Odyssey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you seen any of the other Nolan movies, whether it's Memento or the Christian Bale Batman flicks? Christian Bale's Batman. Yeah, if you would still like those movies without Batman in them, that would be an interesting way to look at some of his other films. Black Science, that was a great book. Matteo Scalera is an incredible artist, and I remember I was talking with one of the talent people at Marvel, and he was asking me about some of my brush technique that I was using at the time, which was this high speed brush, dry brush approach. And he was asking me where I got it from, and I said, well, I pulled it from a few different painters, but someone who uses a similar technique, not exactly the same, was Matteo Scalera. And this talent guy proceeded to tell me, like, yeah, I like some of his stuff, not all of it. And I'm like, really, guy? Now he's doing, all the Batman and stuff for DC, except for, um, he's not on Absolute. He's on one of the Bat books. But Black Science, I like Rick Remender's stuff. I wonder what he's writing these days. I don't really know. With this character, my main idea was is I needed a character whose expression didn't change, and um, the reader can't tell what they're thinking. Like that was kind of the thought process behind developing this big giant headed guy that if he's sitting in a chair, his expression's not going to change, and like her expression's going to change a lot. And believe it or not, there's something about this character that changes, that shows his expression. And I'm not going to give away what it is because it's quite fun. I'll be interested to see because I don't know if I've ever seen it done in comics. So I'll be interested to see how people react to that. I saw this guy is like kind of like a giant salamander. That's kind of how I thought about it with the spots on his head. The plot of BS homaged the Venture Brothers lots. Black Science. I don't know. I thought I read that Remender had written Black Science like years and years before it came out as a book, but I could be mistaken. It could be a different one. Not that I don't enjoy what Chris McCulloch and Doc Hammer did on Venture Brothers. Chris McCulloch, also known as Jackson Public, originally worked on the Tick comics back in the day. He was one of the guys that lived up in Boston that worked at the Fluvog store, which is a fancy shoe store over on, it's probably still there, but it was on Newberry Street. He did a signing at the Tick booth that I was at one of the years I was at San Diego. He was there with Ben, and they were just hanging out and shooting the shit and talking about working on they were also worked on the Tick cartoon show together. That was another thing they did together. Those were our you don't really get to see any of the technology. I'm going to have to do a separate piece with a bunch of technology. I have an idea for how I want it to look. I don't want it to look like your run-of-the-mill machinery that you saw in like a Wildstorm comic in the 90s. I want it to kind of feel like David Lynch's Dune, the way you saw that technology. That's kind of how I want it to look. And that's what one of the big influences on having a lot of green is the main color. So that's more along the lines of what I would think. I would agree that they're both pulling from Johnny Quest and such. I do like Toth. I like Toth quite a bit. Yeah. I hope to get one of those big Toth books. As I showed earlier, I'm actually going more, and this is again, this is a good thing to bring up. It's because Toth and Joe Kubert were both influenced by the same guy. Um, but yeah, when you look at the original versions of these characters, they both have the same look. Mort Weisinger was a big influence on both of them. And when you look at their early brushwork, same thing with Jerry Robinson. Um, yeah, but Mort Weisinger, yeah. Both influenced both Toth and Joe Kubert. So. I think they did an art book of his. There's another artist that they both drew from. I'm trying to remember the name of the artist. I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment. Influenced Steve Ditko too. See, and this is where the internet fails us. It's going to kill me. I'm going to think of it as soon as I end the stream. I'm going to pull this up and see if it's in here. There's no Jerry Robinson. Yeah, I can't find it. Wait. Did I find it? No, that's Kubert. That's Kubert. Oh well. Hey Daniel, good to see you. Is this a turtle? I thought of it as more of like a salamander, lizardy guy. I thought that was more like that. David Lynch's Dune. Yeah, have you ever seen it? It's not a great movie, but just a personal favorite of mine from my youth. I'm sorry. And then our space pirate lady will go here. But yeah, these are, as far as Golden Age stuff goes, like it comes from the Golden Age. So for those that weren't here earlier, we're doing a new issue of Dime Box Comics, which was a book that I did back in 2012 when I was a young lad. And, you know, in my 20s, and my friends and I got together and just did this anthology. We all did a story, pitched in, and, we're doing retro characters for it. So. So Yeah, I enjoyed Venture Brothers as well. Yeah. Man, an artist. It's like a landscape with mountains and waterfall and geometric pattern behind it. Cool. Hey, it's nice they gave you some resources. Jack Cole, another Golden Age artist that was hugely influential. Alex Raymond. Is that what you're looking to do? You're looking to go the tattoo route? Anyway, put stuff back at all. There she is. Short hair. Short hair. Big earrings. It's going to give her a big attitude. Cover up tattoos. Yeah. Did I get that thing I sent you? Wondering if we're getting spammed here again. I guess we find out. You ever like the classic little space gloves? I did not know that. Learn something new every day. Well, we are coming up on our witching hour, our 9:30. Sorry I didn't get it further along. This is where the little reporter person would be. Wherever I put that sketch. Of course, I don't have it here. So I'm done. I have not seen Harvey Birdman in many, many years. It's been many years since I've seen that show. plot. I guess I lost it. Oh, no, it's right here. Yeah, character with long hair, and I thought because there's so much green in the designs that. It's been many years since I've seen Harvey Birdman. Ourselves a little space glimmer back there. Trying to rough it in real quick so you can at least get a feeling of how it's gonna pull together. If you, most of you folks have seen. Daniel, for concept design for video games and stuff, you just got to make a ton of it. Like you got to make a ton of it, and then there are job boards that specialize in that stuff. See you, John. So that would be my recommendation. You just have to make tons and tons of stuff. Yeah, if you would like to do something for it, you're more than welcome. It's just something my friends and I did years ago. It was a young many years ago artist that he and his pals made this little anthology book, and figured we'd make another one. The beauty of it is that there's nobody has to make a giant lift. I can see if I can remember where I saved that stuff, Daniel. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know if I saved it, but there are places where they post. Um, I know that they'll post on their social media when they're looking for somebody, when they're looking for developers or they're looking for concept artists. And then directly on the company website. But the biggest piece of advice that I know from people that work in the video games industry is start small. Like look to get experience with smaller companies and build up your portfolio before going for the big giant ones. That was what was told to me by a video game company recruiter. Is it Iron Galaxy? It's one of the Chicago companies that sprung up from like the Midway guys when they broke off. So we'll just rough in where her silhouette will roughly be. She's got like a little space notepad. Hey there. Yeah, absolutely. I will have Undersea Hero stuff at Granite Con. That'll probably be my uh, make up a majority of my table. So yeah, I mean it's no different than like this anthology comic. The best thing I had going around to editors was showing them I made a comic book. So I made a comic. So if you made up a video game or worked with a friend of yours and uh, just developed your own set of characters for it. I mean, and do mock-ups and make it look like it's a real game and show it off and be like, here, this is my passion, this is what I like to do, and this is my talent at work here. And she's got like a tablet, and then we'll show her with like a space pen. Because I don't know if you remember back in the day, uh, they would show the future technology to have be like the same technology as now, just themed as if it was in space. All right, have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you at work. We'll bring this down. We definitely want this to be dark back here. Here. That's her little space skirt. we'll add some planets and things here and there so that we can make sure that people know it's space. We'll add some stuff. Well, you got the layout, so, and I will think of the artist, of course, as soon as I sign off and log off. We're at the end of the night, and thanks everybody for coming to hang out. Had fun developing this stuff with you, and if anybody wants to contribute to the book as it comes together over the next quarter or so, you're welcome to just drop me a line, and we'll figure out a way. Even if it's just a little doodle or a pinup or something, we'd love to have you throw something in there. So hope everyone has a good night, a good weekend, and hope to see you all next week. All right.